Hello, this is Tammy Cariello, ready to try and give my speech. I have three people in my audience, my daughter Becky,
Hello.
my son Michael,
Hi.
and my husband Nat.
Hi.
So I'm going to pretend that I'm giving this speech to a group of new nurses. Congratulations, you've all made it. After all the clinical trials, all the lost nights of sleep, all of the tests that you had to do, culminating in that final big nasty test, the NCLEX, you have your brand new nursing license and you're ready to start your careers as bedside nurses. But wait, are you going to be successful as a bedside nurse? Well, according to Goodar, in his research, he found that 30 to 50% of all brand new nurses either change their position or get out of the profession altogether after just 3 years. Now, the reason for that is because although you have the clinical knowledge, there may be other skills that you don't have. And all of the loss of those skills can cause burnout. So if you're hoping to be one of those eager young nurses that will survive and have a long career as a bedside nurse, I would like to offer my perspective on what I think those untaught skills are that you need in order to be successful. So who am I? Well, I have been a nurse for 15 years, bedside, on a tele floor. I have taken new nurses and helped to orient them to nursing. I've worked as a mentor, and so I do have a little credibility in the area. Um, my opinion is that in order to be a successful bedside nursing, you need humor, patience, and you need empathy. And that you need to have the desire to practice those skills so that you can be skin on for your patients. So during the next few minutes, I'd like to introduce those important skills and touch on how those skills help us to model our Creator. So let's take a look at those three skills. The first skill is empathy. And I don't think that anybody here has not heard in nursing school that empathy is very important. It is the heart of nursing. When you think about it, patients want from their doctors highly skilled medical knowledge, but from their nurses they want something else. From their nurses they want primarily empathy and emotional support. The foundation of nursing is empathy. Empathy primarily is feeling other people's feelings along with them. Now we have scriptural basis to think that empathy is an important thing, not just for a nurse, but for all Christians. The Bible says to rejoice with those who rejoice and to weep with those who weep. As a matter of fact, even Jesus Christ, he's called our high priest, and it's said that he is not so separate from us that he can't be touched with the feeling of our infirmity. So we can see that empathy has a strong biblical model. Without empathy, we begin to look at our patients as interruptions and tasks to be performed. And if we do that, we do dehumanize our patients, and in the process, we also dehumanize ourselves. The second set of skills that you really need is patience. Patience is an absolute prerequisite. Now, the reason you need patience is because you're dealing with human beings, and human beings are aggravating and annoying in and of themselves. And why is that? Well, because their wants and needs are different than our wants and needs, and those things come into conflict. For instance, think of the patient who gets annoyed with you because you're late bringing in their pain medicine. Patience in and of itself is an outworking of empathy. Think of the example that I gave about the pain medication. If you are empathetic and you try to put yourself in the other person's position, you think, well, what if I were in that much pain and it took 5 minutes longer than I was hoping for my pain medicine to get there? Every minute might seem like an eternity. Patience is also required of all Christians. The Bible says in Ephesians 4:2 that we should be gentle and patient with others. God has shown his patience towards us. So the last skill that I want to touch on is humor. Humor is absolutely essential. And I think that it's God's solution to a lot of our inability to cope. Proverbs 17:22 says that a merry heart doeth good like medicine. So God himself understands that we need that release of humor. Humor can be shared with our patients in some very simple ways. In my practice, some of the things that I like to do is I will often enter a room dancing. I will break out in spontaneous song. And I have here a little prop. This is one of the things that I'm infamous for in my hospital. is Tammy's Magical Light Up Shoes. I find that these things help to break the ice and put your patients at ease and relieve some of their anxiety and maybe some of your anxiety and make a deep personal connection with your patients. Humor predicts your chances of job satisfaction. One group of researchers writes that humor reduces stress, enhances enjoyment, facilitates fun, serves as a tonic to release tension when engaged in monotonous and routine tasks, and facilitates cohesiveness among workers. And that's important because that humor not only puts your patients at ease and hopefully relieves tension for yourself, but also helps to provide a fun environment to work in. Now, humor, I think, is one of those things that is most godlike in man. If you think about it, human beings are the only animals that we know of that enjoys a good joke, a setup of a good joke, just simply for pleasure. Somebody said that the cosmic perspective leads to the comic perspective. And I think that's true. I think that God has probably a wonderful sense of humor. So in summary, your success is more than clinical knowledge. You need empathy, patience, and humor, and you need to develop those skills not only for yourselves and your own practice, but in order to prevent burnout and to honor God. So bedside nursing is going to be the hardest job you ever have, but it can also be the most wonderful job you ever have. But in order to succeed, you're going to need to develop, with God's help, your depth of patience, your sense of humor, and your limit of empathy. Thank you very much.